Howdy, hackers, and welcome to another episode of FairLight TV. This time we will have something that could be of interest, regardless of if your preferred platform is C64, Amiga, or the PC, because we will meet Kenny Magnusson, who you know as Louie. Louie 64 when he's doing his stuff on the C64, and Louie 500 from when he's doing his stuff on the Amiga or on the PC. And I have to warn you, it's all my fault, but there is a bit of an issue with the sound. There is a bit of an echo. Uh, we really struggled for the first part of the of our talk to ensure that we would get sort of everything working, but seemingly I didn't do that. So there is a retaining little echo sound, but it's well worth listening to Kenny's views on the demos that we will also show. So this time, the first week, we will have the interview with Kenny, more on his background and general discussion and what his role has been in a number of the demos and all of that. And then the second week, which you will have to wait another week before you can see, that would be Kenny going through a number of his productions. And again, these would be both on the Amiga, the PC, and on the C64. So if you like this one, I'm sure you would also like what will come up next week. So let's stop bullshitting and let's move over to Washington, the state of Washington, where Kenny is now, and the discussion we have with him. So take it away. So I am now here with Kenny, whom you know as Louie, and we will have the opportunity of going through a number of his demos. First, of course, we will talk a bit about him, but then we will have the absolute pleasure of seeing both Amiga demos, PC demos, and C64 demos, because Kenny has been doing all of them. So welcome, Kenny.
Thank you. Well, C64 wasn't my first thing I started working or doing demos on. That was Amiga 500. But yeah, I've done all of them.
Yeah.
And PSP and PlayStation 2 and yeah.
Have you done demos for those as well, or?
I have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
for PSP and for PlayStation 2.
We might have an issue with sound, but I hear like we're in the middle of a densely trafficated road or something. But bear with us, and I hope the content will make up for that. So we already spent 10 minutes trying to set up sound, so it's all my fault, just so you know. So let's teleport ourselves a number of decades back in time to young Kenny. Tell us about the first steps of like exploring computers, finding and exploring computers.
Yeah, I'm brought up in Stockholm. I'm not born in Stockholm, but as many kids in the 80s, computers was a big thing. Kind of the first thing I ever saw was an Atari, I think. But Game and Watch from Nintendo was huge in Sweden. Almost every kid in school had like a Game and Watch, and that was kind of the first thing. VIC-20 was actually my first computer that my father bought, and then I got a C64. Didn't start with the demo scene; I was too young, and played Bubble Bubble and Get Our Sisters and stuff like that. I actually started coding BASIC a little bit on the C64, trying to do kind of quest-based games. Go right, go left, and do ASCII images and stuff. And then the Amiga 500 came, and that's when you started to see demos and things. And I think one of the first demos I saw was Enigma, and I think I saw some other ones, probably crack intros for things, because you started copying games on Amiga 500. And that was the first one I saw, and kind of the biggest thing was to see that it had a Swedish flag in it, and we're like, what? Are these Swedish people doing this thing?
Yeah.
it's amazing, and you highlight these people, right? Like, who's this Athelstos? Like, who's this Uno guy? And you looked up to these things, and all these intros. I remember Unit A intro for F-18 Interceptor.
Hmm.
Oh my God, that
The
song!
three guys in
Yeah,
robes, and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And they
massive.
were standing there.
Very good
That
music
song,
as well.
the song is still in my head, and I recorded it like on tape. I went to school just looping that song, you know. And my mom was like, "What is that music? It's super, really bad." And I remember hooking up my Amiga to my stereo, and I was like, "Oh my God." It's just two sounds coming from that speaker, and like two channels are coming from that speaker. But you could take the two like sound things and pull out the white one a little bit,
Hmm?
and then it became mono into the stereo. But first was, I think, the music was amazing. I remember on C64 Last Ninja 2. Oh, that music is still super good.
Yeah.
Like, I still listen to the synth songs from Last Ninja 2. And I remember like just I didn't have a disk drive for the C64. I just had a tape recorder, like the tape one. I remember just like stopping it, like playing to the second level, like after the park, and then
Hmm.
just like, this song is best, and just stop, just stop
Pause
the
and
tape.
just listen to the music.
Yeah, they stopped the tape and it had the C64 just play the music constantly.
Cool. But so no scene activity on the C64. That's very late in your career. That's sort of odd, but there are a number of
Yeah.
those
Well,
around.
actually,
But
I started pixeling because my father bought this light stick thingy that you can pixel
yeah,
by drawing on the TV.
yeah,
Like, so the mouse connection had this pen,
yeah.
and it was amazing. It was amazing. Uh, um, yeah, the first kind of demo scene stuff I did was on the 500 because my friends, we had like a small copy party. I don't remember how old we were. We're probably 9 or 8 or something like that, like in third grade or whatever. And I got deluxe paint, right, in just making circles and stuff, and playing around with that. And then a magazine in Sweden called Datamagasinet had a lot of stuff in there, and we were reading that one. And you could submit images to this magazine. You could like send images to them, and then like I think the one of the last pages they would show these images. And I was like, okay, I'll make an image and send in. And it was just kind of for fun. And I sent it in, and it got published in one of the magazines. I don't have it still, you know, but
If you
and
can tell me which issue it is, I
I have
have
no,
all of them except the first one, and it of course couldn't be the first one. So
I have no idea what it was, but I could probably figure out what year it was or whatever. But it was fun.
there is an archive online, so you can probably search that one.
I
I
don't
think
know if
so.
I
I
want to
think they
see it.
OCR'd all the text, so you can search.
Yeah.
And I used to work for the Automagazine for a number of years, but it wasn't me responsible for that page, so I don't remember it.
And then when we when we started on the 500, I got a 2.4 modem, um, and BBSs started popping up, everywhere, and we started seeing BBS intros and stuff like that. So this is a guy in my class, Vedder Insane. Him and I started a demo group called Oblivion. Uh, and
My text says that was in '93, so
Yes, that is in
yeah.
'93. That's when we started doing that. And there was a guy in another class, Colgate. There was a programmer. He joined us, and we started doing BBS stuff for other BBSs. And then these BBSs joined Oblivion, and that was fun. That was like an 8th grade or something like that. It was a lot of fun. BBSs were cool. And I remember downloading Desert Dream from the BBS and seeing that the first time was like shit.
Kefrens, yeah,
Yeah, so
that's massive.
synced,
That's
so
absolutely massive.
synced to the music, and it was amazing. And at that time, I got uh, a program that could like store the memory from what you played, like a game or a demo, and you just boot it up on a disk. This program that then read the memory that was still in the computer, and then you could like move around into the memory and actually find the images and stuff that was in the demo. So I could figure out how things were pixeled, right? Some people I think had a cartridge on the back
Yeah.
to do that, but what I had was just like a disc. You played the demo, rebooted fast,
Yeah.
slapped the disc in, and it started up, and then you moved around in the memory, and then you can save that image to the disc, and then you can load up Deluxe Paint or whatever, and then take a look at it and go like, oh, okay, this is how it's done.
Right. So it's on the C64. It's like reset cracking. When you press the reset button on the C64, most of the memory is preserved. Not all of it, but
Yeah,
most. So if you have a program there, you could start. Then you can start exploring what's sort of still left in memory, and this would be sort of a similar trick on the Amiga.
yeah, and that so you can take a look at the images that you liked and stuff like that. So um,
So and we are still like in your Oblivion phase here, right?
yeah, so we started up, and I think a year or two into our demo group, we figured out there was a Danish group called Oblivion. So it was like, you know, okay,
Yeah.
we might need to change. But then another demo group in Stockholm called Insane called us up and said, "You guys should join us. You know, you guys suck. Come and join us instead." And we're hacking, and we have
That doesn't make sense. If you suck, why would you? Why would they want you to join? That's 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 arrogant.
well, so they said that we have other programmers and musicians. We have great musicians, and and if you want to do bigger demos and stuff, and we also crack games, and we're gonna crack games. And it's so cool, and we have and one thing was this. The leader of that group was Cluster of Insane. He had a huge mod collection with modules. Like he's like, oh yeah, I know Firefox, and Tipometronics and these people. I know these people. I've talked to them, but we're like, you do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm also friends with the Enigma guys, Phenonema and those guys. I know those guys, and we're like, oh, you do? Oh my god, okay. So we joined them, and it was kind of cool. We went to the other side of Stockholm. I'm like from a suburb in Stockholm called Skogås, but the Insane was
That's
in
very south, right?
Hagsätra. Yeah, well, the Insane guys was in Hagsätra. It's like the other side, and we went there and had like parties and stuff, and Firefox actually came there, and the twins, the GFX twins, and it was really cool. And I was doing a lot of stuff, and then I really started pixeling, and I started in Deluxe Paint, and then from Deluxe Paint I went to P Paint actually, because I like how that pixel program made palettes. It had a lot of different things to make palettes that I really liked. So I went over to P Paint. It had some filters and stuff it could do as well that I really liked. Um, and yeah, and I think after I went to P Paint, I went to Brilliance later on. Um, but I did a lot of stuff in Insane. There's a couple of things we did. We did a couple of intros and stuff, and I started really learning how to pixel. Um, and it was a lot of fun, I think. And I
So,
think,
I mean, graphically, are you only doing graphics on computers, or are you one of those who do sketching on everything you when you're sitting down and you're sketching, or is
oh
it
yeah,
just computers?
yeah, I sketch as well a lot. I actually do a lot of hand drawing stuff and did a lot in school. And I actually, one of the images I've done, Inga from Sweden. the main uh, part of that image is using a hand scanner. You know, the one that you had to draw. But I first draw the image on paper,
Yeah.
and then I then hand scan it in black and white, and then I pixeled over it. The background for Inga from Sweden is from one of the Star Wars concepts from Return of oh no, the Empire Strikes Back, and that's fully pixeled. That's not. So I use kind of when I did a good hand drawing thing, I would use that. But mostly I would pixel right on the program. One technique I use too is like the transparent paper, and you make a grid, and then you find a photo that's really nice. You put this transparent paper with a grid that you just made with a marker, and
Yeah.
then you made a grid in Deluxe Paint as a layer, and then you pixel just to get the shapes and everything, the right kind of things from the photo. I know
Yeah.
that some pixel artists like, oh, you're cheating. Like, what's you just put the transparent thing over the photo and then you pixel it.
For me, there
So
is no such thing as cheating. It's however you choose to get the result. It's your process, and you're allowed to do that. I mean, Sarge used to have one of those plastic foils, and he did outlines on that, and then he stuck it to his monitor, and then so that's
that works
sort of
too.
the grid thing, but not using the grid. So
Yeah.
it's doing the same thing.
Yeah, I uh, going so as I said, I went to 500 and then I did all this stuff, and then coming back to C64 much later, I then figured out actually how I want to draw. Like, because at that time we were trying to figure out, and there was so many pixel artists coming up that you're like, how did he do that? And then if you met this person at like the party 3 or 4, whatever, you would ask them how they would do that thing, and then you would try it yourself.
Mm.
Um, but it's very interesting. But I do both. To your answer or question, I do both. I like drawing on paper. I like I did a lot of graffiti when I was a kid as well.
Yeah.
So I like that. And yeah.
So, and this is sort of totally leaving the the script we have, but since I have the question here and I've asked a number of graphics guys before, so in your process, do you see the end result and you just do it, or is that something that evolves? You have a vague idea where you're going, and you're sort of evolving that thought, if
When
that
it
sort of makes sense.
when it comes to single pictures for like a graphic competition, it is stuck in my mind already. It's already there.
Yeah.
If I've seen a photo or I have an idea, it's already I already see it in my head, and I just do it.
Mm.
And I kind of do that with demos as well. Uh, Later on, I'll share some stuff. How detailed I plan demos.
Mm.
Even with Fairlight, it was like I do a script,
Yeah.
and I draw sketches, and it's like, this is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna do. I might ask in the beginning, like, do you have any effects you want to do? Like, I
Mm.
want to do this thing. I'm like, okay, that fits well into to what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Um, so no, yeah, I have a very clear idea when I start pixeling something what I want to do.
I mean, it's quite clear when you see a demo if it's sort of project managed by the coders or somebody from the graphic side. I would say Smash is probably the exception to that, because he starts with the music and then adds stuff on top of that. But if the old traditional coders demos,
Yeah,
yeah, they didn't look that good, and they weren't coherent, and they didn't have like a red thread that went through them. But if you came from the graphic side, there is a higher degree of probability that there is like a continuous flow, and there is an idea that flows through, and all of that. So yeah,
that's
I
interesting.
think it makes sense to have somebody from the graphics side sort of owning the visual expression, to ensure that it's good.
Yeah, but Hadi, the sound is very important, right? So
Yeah.
and some musicians don't like this. Then when I make a script, right? Because I tell them start like this, you have 30 seconds of that, 20 seconds of that, like, and but sometimes like I get a song and I start with the demo in the beginning of the song, but then I'm like, can you change the song here? Can you like make this
Yeah.
longer or shorter?
Yeah, well, I mean, and the musicians here are quite different. A number of them are quite okay by saying, okay, well, take sort of directions, but others are more like prima donna musicians, like I have done my masterpiece, now you adopt the demo to my music, and I will not change it for the world. But I think we're sort of blessed with guys like Wiklund, who is very good at sort of taking instructions and still making something that is really coherent but also as per instruction. It's not easy to find those people.
Now, a good example, if we go back to my story a little bit, and then Insane, we did a lot of stuff. But then Rubber Duck of TBL called me, and when did I release Tint again? What date was that?
Which one was that?
Tint, the first TBL demo, kind of the big TBL demo.
Yeah, well, it says that you joined TBL in 1995,
Yeah, I
which
think it was
doesn't
95.
really. It's not really coherent with that you quit Insane in '96. So unless you were like double member or
I
something,
was double member for a little bit, but
okay.
anyway, so he called me and he was like, you've seen our demo at the party, right? You've seen the party demo we did. So I did so Essence, a German demo group, called me like in, I think it was in August, and said, hey, we've seen your stuff and we're doing a demo. The coder was called Touchstone. Very nice guys. So I worked with them to do a demo with them. It had Virgil doing the music, and I was like, shit, okay, I need to jump on this. He's a Sanity guy, right, from Interference and those demos, and I loved his music. So it's like Virgil's gonna make the music for my demo. And then Insane didn't like that. Insane was like, "Oh, what are you doing? You can't do that. Don't you? You have to make sure you get credit. It needs to say Louie of Insane in the demo. You can't. Are you going to join Essence? No, 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 no. We'll kick you out of our group if you do that. So I, it was very deadly serious, this demo scene stuff at that time. You were young, and this was the cool thing you did. Your parents didn't know shit what you were doing. I had calling cards and stuff. My parents didn't know what I was doing, and I'm segueing now, but there's a good story here. So my parents, basically, when I got my modem, was like, shit, we have a phone bill for 600 kroners. What are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just calling my friends. They're like, no, you're on the phone, and the thing screeches when we pick up the phone, right? So they gave me my own phone line, right? And I'm like, shit, I have to use my, allowance to like pay for this. Yeah, yep. And then I talked to my friends, was like, yeah, we can give you some calling cards that, work for a week or whatever. And I'm like, oh shit, great. So at the beginning, I have like 500 kronas a month bill. Most of my allowance went to just being on BBSs, but then it went down to zero. And my parents like, but you're on the phone like 24/7. How can the bill with zero? I'm like, I don't know.
Incoming only. We
Yeah.
don't pay for that. So
But I remember we were using taxi cards as well, like taxi numbers to call for free as well. Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, back to the thing. Rubber Duck called me and said, we have a demo for the gathering. And we want you to join TBL. Screw this insane group. And I said, I don't know. And then Rubber Duck like, I'll call Cluster and tell him Louis is ours now. Like you can't. There, and I don't know. And then Rubber Duck sent me the demo, and I'm like, holy! And that demo was almost done. Like UFA and Equalizer or EQ, those guys have designed the whole demo almost. Rodney of TBL, he had designed some of it, but it was very finished. And I'm like, shit. There was so many colors. I had no idea how they did this with the Ham 8 mode thing that they did. And so I joined TBL and went over and met Rodney halfway to Norway. They released a demo at Gathering, and it was done, right? And they're like, okay, Louis, we need 2 images, we need textures, we need this, we need. I got a long list of stuff just to do.
Yeah.
There was no designing or anything. It's like, Kenny, we need this, we need that,
Yeah.
and I just did those things and just gave it to them, and then they made the whole demo. I didn't. I just made graphics for the demo. Oh yeah, and then Robert told me, oh, I've called Danny from Lemon and Facet and Super Now, and they're also joined TBL. I'm like, oh, what? You just call around and have people join you? Yeah. I thought he was lying.
So
Like, why
I
would
mean,
you?
for people not in the scene, I mean, it's the whole recruiting process is very much like football. Yeah, and here I talk about football that actually played with a ball with your feet, so not
Yeah,
handmade, not the American one. So it's football.
yeah,
And I
soccer.
mean, of course, if you are the coach of Manchester United and you have the money, then you can buy basically everybody. So if you see somebody young and talented and you want that person on your team, it's highly possible that you can recruit them. So this is sort of what happens with the pyramid. The bubbles that come in the base easily float up if their competence is acknowledged by somebody higher up in the pyramid. So that's why I find sort of the career path of sceners rather interesting, because
Yeah.
we have all been small bubbles in the very very base of the pyramid at one point in time, and we have been able to float up to a certain level, and the selected few float to the very, very top, but most stay at sort of intermediate level, and some still stay like on the absolute base. It seems that, yeah, they
And
didn't float well, the bubbles.
you learn this skill not in school. You're like 15 years old and learn how to talk to people, communicate, and
Yeah,
I had friends in Germany through BBSs that
yeah,
I then met in Denmark, and it just and then you're like, oh, that musician is great. Oh, I need to contact him. So I'll send the mail to him and see if he wants to do it. And you had to persuade them, and Rubber Duck was very good at this, and he was a programmer as well, so he could program, but he was very good at showing off what the group can do. I told Robert, like, your name for a demo group is the worst ever. Black Lotus. What? You have all these cool names like Fairlight or like Silence or whatever. You called the Black Lotus, and it was like, oh yeah, it's a magic card. I'm like, magic card? Like, oh,
yeah. Tell us more about that. A
I
magic card in like where is
yeah,
that?
it's one of the best cards in the card game Magic, right? And it's called the Black Lotus card. And Rubber Duck, I think this is the story. I actually don't know, but like, what is the story? Yeah, so that made me like because it was the best card. Like it was the
Oh.
best card you can get in Magic. So that's where the name come from, I think.
To be honest, I think it's absolutely brilliant. I like it as a name because the names that are sort of easy, like rebels. Yeah,
Yeah,
that for me, that don't take this wrong, rebels. You might be a good group, but I think the name is sort of, yeah. You could be an MC gang, or you could be anything. There is nothing that like stands out. Whereas TBL, there is no other TBL. There is no risk of
no, I
some
like
other
Rebels.
TBL even appearing.
Yeah, I like Rebels. I like Dual Crew Shining. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that. Dual Crew Shining. Carillion, I like that.
yeah,
And Cyberride, and then it became CNCD. But
yeah.
I was basically, there's so many good names. Like, and I actually asked her to change name to just Black. But they're like, no, 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 Black Lotus, whatever. It was fun. It was fun. But anyway, then I went to the gathering, and to your question, how I made demos, that demo I just contributed with graphics. I did not plan it. I didn't design it. Uh, do you smell the cars? Do you smell the flowers? Whatever in the beginning, that's not me. Uh, but Tint was a big demo for the demo scene when that came out. It was huge because it had that Ham 8 mode and stuff. And that was kind of one of my big demos. Um, um, the Essence demo, Crazy Sexy Cool, was very cool to do, and a lot of people like that too. I think it was, I did a really hard work on that. In that Essence demo, I did graphics that I had actually released before, but I kind of changed them and fixed them up a little bit. But yeah.
But I mean, if we go through, that was sort of your initial role in TBL. But if you look at, well, you've already elaborated over the fact that you would like to own sort of the storyline to the demo and manage the demo. So your current role when a demo is done in TBL, what is that like?
Well, so it changed over time because we started. So what happened after Gathering was that when we won Gathering with that demo, and I won the graphic competition, Team 17 came up to me, and I was 17 at that time, and they just said, "We want you to work on Worms 2. Come to England for Team 17 and work for us, and we want to hire Equalizer and Rodney as well." And we're like, wow, okay, interesting. But I have 1 year of school left, right? This was like in Easter, and then they said, well, in a year you'll come and work for us. And I'm like, oh, okay, well then, so that's my last year in was it high school? Tredje ring, or the third ring is what we called it. And I'm like,
Gymnasium, it's something else in English. So
yeah,
this is not a gym. It's sort of
yeah,
in Sweden you have 9 years and then you have an additional 2 or 3 now,
yeah.
or even 4. But and then you go on to uni. So this is sort of the interim between university and the first 9 years.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna leave school in Easter, but I still have 2 or 3 months left. So I had to speed up and finish my exams and stuff. So I got the 3 years. But then I was 18 when I moved to England with those three guys to do Worms 2. So me and Rodney and Equalizer moved together in one house. It was amazing, move from your parents' house to a fucking house in England. Oh, it was amazing. We were partying like crazy.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic time. In my first game job, basically. And then Equalizer and I started designing a new demo. For the party that we actually never finished because of some assembler problems. It wouldn't compile. It was actually a bug in the compiler. It wasn't really the demo's fault. It was the compiler screwing something up. So we didn't get to release it at the party. So we released it at the gathering again the year after. Captured Dreams, and that one I actually designed together with Equalizer. Him and I kind of designed how it would be, and then we asked Rodix, the musician in Sweden that is phenomenal, to do the music, and he agreed. And that's the time when Mirk started. And I had my Amiga in England, and I was doing pixeling on Amiga. Then they gave me a PC, and I'm like, oh, what is this? Okay, fine, So that was the first time I touched like Photoshop and those kind of software on the PC. But Equalizer and I designed Capture Dreams, and that was very cool. So that's when I started being, part of that kind of designing and stuff like that.
More controlling the actual output rather than just contributing to
yeah.
the end result of the vision of somebody else.
Yeah.
So when you worked with TBL and you worked with FairLight CNCD a bit, and you worked with Pantaloon for the stuff on well, also on the C64, is your role different in those contexts, or do you always now step into sort of the same role?
I think specifically with me and Pantalon, I have an idea, and he's like, "Okay, that's cool. Let's do that." And
Yeah.
then I show him what I would like to do, and then Pantalon picks. I want to do this thing that you want to do. I want to do that. Give that to the other programmers. Like I would come up with a couple of effects or stuff, but we would kind of bounce ideas, him and me. Um, when it comes to the TBL thing, what also happened there is sometimes I had to go away and work really hard, and some guys would make a Amiga 1200 demo, and then I was like, "Oh my god, those effects are great!" And then we would do another demo with the same effects,
Mm.
but I would put my graphics on it. It was a couple of TBL demos that was made like that, like reusing code to make another demo. That they're refining it, but yeah, after I did that Capture Dreams, that's kind of how I did it. Um, Going on for that, but I lived in England for a year with Team 17. Didn't finish Worms 2. Then Dice in Gothenburg called me, an Equalizer, and Rodney, and say, "Come and work for Dice instead. We're making a car game. We're not doing pinball games anymore. Come to Gothenburg and work for us. We have money. Come here now."
Yeah.
And we met them at the Party 5, I think. And then we're like, okay. So we worked in England for a year. The funny story for that one was that when we left England, like we didn't use up much money that we got from working there. So we had to we took out all the money from the bank and like
In cash?
Equalizer, yeah, in cash, in like potato bags. And then we drove down to London to meet the Holland TBL guys that worked at what's the studio that made Tomb Raider?
Yeah.
I don't remember what they're called. The first Tomb Raider. Anyway, they were working down there, so we went down there, and then we took a boat from London to Gothenburg with our
With a
potato
shitload of
bags.
cash
Yeah,
carrying that.
with like 1 pound or like 10 pound, stuff. It was huge bags
Yeah.
because this small bank in Osset in Wakefield, Team 17, didn't have enough cash, so we just got small bills. This is full bags of stuff. Really
But I
stupid.
mean, there was a Worms too. Have you been part of that at all,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
was?
I got credits for it. I did a couple of backgrounds.
But you
I
weren't you
became
weren't there to finish it, but you were there to, like contributing to the end
yeah.
result.
But me and Andy Davidson that made Worms 1, him and I became really good friends. And we went out partying, and him and I, we had really good fun. And he told me when I was working there, "I'm going to make a Worms director's cut. And Louie or Kenny, you should come and pixel stuff. And we have some cool stuff. And we should figure out what new weapons we should have." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what weapons do you want to have? I don't know." It's like, and then we were out partying, and then, there was a postal strike in England. The crazy cow disease
Yeah.
started coming, and then he told me, like, "You should make your own weapon." I'm like, "Oh yeah, let's make Worms director's cut weapon." So if you write apan hoppar, it means the monkey's jumping,
Yeah.
like in the code thing, you get a new weapon. It's actually me eating a pizza, and then it's me like on a rope that it's like a huge explosion. So that was really fun. So I shipped Worms Director's Cut. I actually made the
Apan hoppar.
yeah.
This is giving away an Easter egg inside Worms.
Director's
You
Cut,
didn't
only
expect
Director's
that,
Cut.
guys, did you?
Yeah. So yeah, so that was fun. We made the concrete donkey. I pixeled the concrete donkey. I pixeled a couple of new maps. I pixeled a new bar at the bottom with the director's cut kind of thingy.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, you know. And actually, so that I shipped one thing um, at Team 17, but I got credits for Worms 2 as well. I did some character designs and stuff as well. But then I
To be
started
honest,
at
I mean,
Dice.
being a cracker means that you play a number of games, but
Yeah.
you don't do it like a normal gamer. You are implementing trainers, which means that you eventually hate the game. Worms is one of the exceptions. I played a lot of Worms on the Amiga together with my pal Anders in Denmark, who is absolutely not a scener at all. And so we drank whiskey and played Worms forever and ever. And he was so much better with the rope than I am. So I'm okay with the bombing part, but ropes. He always managed to sneak into some kind of hidden little cave and. Where trying to bomb him out of the sky wouldn't be possible. So yeah, I hate the ropes. I'm so shitty bad at the ropes. I'm good at the other thing, but not the rope.
Yeah. And yeah, and then I started working for Dice, and then Dice moved to Stockholm, and then I met Pantaloon. I think I met him before in a couple of other the, you know, and he was always shit drunk at some German party, and I was like, oh my god, who is that guy? It's like, oh, he's Swedish. I'm like, okay, need to go talk to him. Oh, he's one of the guys that works on like UI stuff at Dice in Stockholm, right? And so I was like, oh, cool. You know, oh, he's a Fairlight guy. Okay. You know, I remember, I remember playing Another World with my father on a 500,
Mm.
and Fairlight would always pop up at the beginning. You know, like, yeah, those Fairlight guys are great at making games. Well, it was a crack, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I remember the logo was amazing and stuff like so. Well, okay, so you know, I started hanging out with Pantalon a little bit, and then I don't know how it came to be, but he was like asked me like so I don't remember if I if I talked to Smash a little bit because I saw some of the Smash stuff and thought that was amazing, some of the intros he made. Um and then Magnus and I said we should do something sometime.
Mm.
And then there was a Intel competition, I think. And Magnus said like we should win this thing that you win a computer and whatever. I'm like, oh cool. So him and I started doing demos, and that was the PC demo, the One More Wish demo that him and I did for that Intel competition. And yeah, it was kind of fun. Um, and then
Great.
that's it. And then he said, I want to do C64 demos. And I'm like, oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course we should do that. And we saw some of the C64 demos coming out at that time. And we're like, this is cool. They're really, you know, it's more demos, a lot more demos on the C64 scene than it was on Amiga 500 or 1200 at that
Yeah, I mean, the
time.
C64 demo scene sort of reinvented itself at one point in time. It was fading and fading and fading, and I don't know what triggered it, but suddenly it
Yeah,
started rising again. And to be honest, if you look at the demo scenes today, I would say the Amiga one is the one that suffers. PC
yeah,
will sort of always be there because it's sort of the technical forefront,
yeah.
and then you have C64 as the clear competitor, and
I think there's more 500 demos coming. I think the ECS one, you know, people want to do stuff there because it's kind of hard and stuff. But yeah, I and then he told me, Panto, you should look at this X demo party in Holland. Uh, I'm like, oh yeah, it was huge. It was like, oh, you live in a compound, everybody?
yeah,
It's not that you have to go to a hotel. Everybody sleeps in the same area.
yeah.
It's fucking, and everybody has breakfast together. It's amazing. You know,
I'm
like I
embarrassed.
had to.
I still haven't been there, but
What?
I will be there the next time.
You
I'm not
haven't been to
promising.
X?
I'm sort of making it highly probable.
Yeah. Well, the funny part when we started doing the C64 demo is that Pantalon told me we should do it for this demo party in Gothenburg, and you know,
Gothenburg.
yeah, Bacchus is going to drive us down. What? The Bacchus is going to drive us down to Gothenburg? Yeah, he's going to drive us. Wait. This is Strider and Bacchus?
Yeah.
You know, the guys I read about in like Rome and Propaganda Disc Magazine, right? Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
So that
Yeah,
was cool meeting
I
you
was
for the first
driving,
time.
and you two were in the back seat coding the rest of the demo at the time, and so yeah, I think I was credited as a personal driver in the demo, if I remember correctly. This was for Datastorm.
Yes, it was for the data storm. Yeah, it was a small wish. We try to piggyback on the one more wish to make
Yeah,
a small wish. So that was the first C64 demo I made, and it was a lot of fun with Pantalon, it was really cool. And that's when I met Viklund for the first time as well,
yeah,
and he made the music for that one. No, it wasn't. No, he didn't do that one. There's another guy, Gothenburg musician, that's also fantastic. That's a friend of Go to 80, I think. Those two are. I don't
okay.
remember. Great musicians anyway. But yeah.
I hope nobody hears the sound I'm hearing, because for me it sounds like a plane is landing or something. But again, if sound is totally crap, we try to fix it. But let's hope the content is sort of making it worth listening through that anyway. And I hope the recording doesn't pick up everything I hear in my phone. So um, I have two sort of lines of questions. So still remaining before we start looking at demos and having you comment on them, and again, there will be demos from all the three platforms that we have been sort of active on. So is it fair to say that you're a member of TBL on Amiga and PC, and you're a member of FairLight on the 64, or how do you see that?
That's a good question. I think at one point groups started blurring together. I remember when I was in Insane, I actually and TBL. When I moved to TBL, I actually joined Queso as well. Love that. Love those people. DJ Cat
Speaking
and
about lame names for groups, that's cottage cheese in Swedish.
yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
That's rubbish.
Well,
It's not
D-
even tasting good. It's what kind of a name is that?
it's an amazing name. So those guys were amazing. They made the CP list. There's
Yeah,
just like 100 things to do if you're CP. I'm not gonna say what it mean, what that
uh,
stands for, but anyway, it was like drink, like eat yellow snow and stuff like that.
yeah,
So I thought these guys were amazing. I have to join this group. They're really really funny, and I think I became pretty good friends with desktop of CNCD on Merc, and then I kind of started joining multiple groups like that are we're friends, right?
yeah,
And I yeah CNCD and Fairlight has been doing a lot of stuff together for a long time on the PC side. And that's Smash and desktop doing stuff all the time. And when we did the first demo, me and Pantalon, it was Fairlight TBL, but then when it was on C64, it was like, of course, it's just Fairlight. Um, yeah, I think on like demo Sue, it says like Insane, TBL, Fairlight, KSO, Tapolm, I think too. I joined at one case, So.
okay, so I have to get back to that. Sorry, it's if you don't know what it looks like, it's one of the ways to describe it is like if you take a moomin and you make minced meat out of it. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, it's like white goo, kind of that you spread over a sandwich or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Only eaten by people on a diet for some reason. Okay, so it's sort of vague, right?
Yeah.
Membership is sort of vague, and I'm a bit anal when it comes to our members being members of us only. I've sort of accepted that a few people could be sort of holding dual membership, and those were the ones that, if they can fulfill all the requirements as of Fairlight, I'm okay if they contribute to somebody else as well. And anybody is free to sort of collaborate with other groups. I don't mind that at all. But it's just the sort of membership. I would like people to have like one home, and then sort of you can work abroad. That's fine, but just know that you live here.
I think how I see it is that on Amiga and Amiga 500 and Amiga 1200, I do TBL demos.
Yeah.
If I do PC and C64, that's Fairlight because that's with Pantalon or with Smash. And then C64 stuff is with Pantalon, of course. So that's how I kind of see it. Then the PSP demo I've done in the Sony PlayStation 2 demo is with TBL.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I split it up, kind of thing. That's kind of what I
it
do.
makes sense. I mean, membership per platform sort of makes sense because, in all fairness, not every group has sort of people working on multiple platforms. Most people are single platform guys, but then you have the pantaloons and a few of those who are fully able to work on multiple platforms and still pull it off on a reasonable level. So it's those are the masterminds, and you should treasure those. So I guess we have a common mission here of trying to wake Pantaloon out of his demo coding hibernation. He's been doing too much of his own game company thing. So, but you have your own game company as well. I know that you left Sweden for US and you worked with Microsoft, right?
Yeah, 343 Studios that make the Halo games.
Yeah.
Bungie made Halo 1, 2, 3 kind of thing, and then when Bungie didn't want to do that anymore, they started a new studio called 343 to continue the Halo saga kind of thing. And after 15 years at DICE, I was kind of like, I want to try something new. I was very envious at MRK, Matthias Chilean, that he went to the US to work for a couple of years in like LA. So I was like, I want to go to the US and do games too. And I wanted to do a science fiction game. So I went there. And then after a couple of years doing that, Halo 4 and 5 and a lot of Halo 6, then me and MRK, we got the opportunity to start our own company. And we're both born in 1977. We were fighting about the name of the company for a long time. And then we're like, we actually look at Desktop's Fairlight CNCD logo that kind of resembles the C64 logo. We're like, yeah, why not just have C something? Like, it's C. Commodore's logo is fucking amazing. Like the C,
the chicken head,
yeah, the chicken head with the red kind of thing sticking out. It's beautiful. And then we're just like, well, let's just put. We're looking at companies we liked, and I like A24 that makes movies. I like those movies that they make and how they kind of work. So then we just like, okay, C77, fantastic. That's a great name. I can make a great logo, you know. So then it's like an homage to the C64. It's also when we're born.
Cool. So you are now the CFO of this company, but I guess you're also involved in the actual game production. Pantaloon's reaction when he heard that you turned CFO was, can he even use a calculator? I wasn't aware. Like, and well, most CFOs I have encountered, they know how to use a calculator. I must say that that's typically sort of a trademark of them, that they know how to use a calculator. So I guess
it's kind of funny
to be able to do that.
It's kind of funny, you know. Like, I'm really interested in a lot of things, right? If you can see what I have behind here, I'm trying to learn how to do taxidermy.
Okay.
Like, okay, you know, I'm like, I'm like,
birds.
BMX. I want to learn how to do BMX tricks. Yeah. I'm gonna kill myself because I'm like 35. I'm gonna do it. You know, like, I'm kind of crazy like that. I actually had an A in company economy in school, and I kind of like that. I like doing doing the taxes and stuff like that. It's like, I fix these numbers, whatever. And I like spreadsheets. I like Excel, and I like projects too. It's really weird.
Can we repeat that sentence again? I like doing my taxes. Are you
Yes, I
fucking
do.
sick?
Well,
Nobody likes that. You
but
need to
it's
get
not
paid
that.
for doing it, but you couldn't
It's
like it.
it's not
That's
that
physically
difficult.
impossible.
Okay, I wouldn't say I like it. I'm like, okay, I have to do it. But I'm like, okay, but how does this work? Like,
Yeah.
what is the percentage that you need to use? Like, oh, I've done this. I bought a car. What is this? What are the rules? And it's not stated. It's not that difficult to find, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think when I'm trying to go into something, I have a very positive attitude in everything. Of course, like being 35 and trying to do BMX trick, I fucking had all my nails on my foot fly off once, like it's very stupid. But I like, how do you learn these tricks? Like, so I try, so I've always liked numbers and I don't have problems with that, you know. And Matthias said, like, I want to be more of a director of the game. And, like, I'm like, I don't know. And then I just said, like, I'll do this. I'll do the money. I'll take all the money and do the spreadsheets and do the P&L and all that
Mm.
stuff.
Mm.
And I'm also interested in learning stuff. So I'll just do a week course of economy stuff here in Washington, in Seattle.
Yeah.
That's where I live in the
Yeah.
U.S. And I was like, this is quite easy. I asked the questions and and then we had some help with from Embracer, and yeah, um, doing loan agreements and all that stuff. At the same time, I'm doing graphic design and lighting in our game.
It's sort of an odd combination, but you are not the only one in the group. JBM is also doing the financial side of businesses. So
Oh,
yeah, you are not alone.
yeah.
There are others with similar perversions. I mean interests.
Well, I think it's interesting. Usually, some of the programmers are good musicians, right? Like Laxity and some of the musicians I know are good at programmers, or they're programmers, but they can also code. Like Abaddon, for example, like FairLight, that helped us with some of the C64 demos. He's a really good musician and programmer, right? And I know some of those guys that are good musicians, right? But I don't know many art like pixel artists that are good musicians.
Mm.
Uh, so there's probably something with our heads or something. I don't know.
I think it's more logic. I mean, for me, music is it's more logic to music than it is to art. It's
Yeah.
I have no idea. This is the thing we call killgissning in Swedish, where some guy says something with some sort of confidence, even if it's absolutely clueless.
It's
But then
bullshit.
there is this thing with
Oh.
the right and the left half of the brain, where the right is the more creative one, and the left one is more the logical one. And for me, the physical side of things would be the logical side, and then the yeah, art is clearly the more artistic part. But music could be a bit of both.
Well, I would love to program if I had the time, right?
Yeah,
If I had the time, I would love to do it. Actually, at
you could bring
343,
up your basic again.
yeah, I at 343 I started programming some stuff actually for doing tools
Yeah.
with C sharp and SAML. So I learned a lot of that there. So I've been in Visual Studio a lot at 343, and I like that too. I like to have it clean, like no spaces. Love the tab thing. Love the tabify thing. My code needs to be pretty clean. I like how it looks.
Mm, mm.
I try to dabble here and there, but usually there are people that are better than me. So
Right. So, Kenny, I think we have been talking for just about an hour, and I think it all makes sense if we make this into 2 episodes. So there might be a cut here, and you would have to wait until the next week to go through all the demos with Kenny. But yeah, let's see how Torsten handles this in post-production, how he feels that we should do it. But 1 hour is a very, very good length of an episode. So thank you so much, Kenny, for this part, I would say. And it's been an
Stay
absolute
tuned.
pleasure. And yeah, let's fingers crossed that sound was okay and it wasn't as bad as I hear it. But let's start the second part. That was everything for this week. Thank you so much to Kenny for participating, and again, my apologies for the crappy handling of the sound. I hope it was fully watchable anyway, and now you have something to look forward to see next week when Kenny goes through. We will have another hour of Kenny going through his favorite demos, or demos that are his favorite, that we will sort of go through, and Kenny can describe a bit of them and give them a bit of more context. I'm sure you are looking forward to that because it's a great piece. I'm truly proud we will have that in the upcoming week. But just to give you a cliffhanger, bye bye.